Hey, so I'm at some really precarious angle. I'm like in my cabinet where I keep my cups and stuff, but I just wanted to touch base and give my 2 cents, if I'm allowed, about what's happening right now in the world regarding Black Lives Matter, what's happening in the world regarding Black lives, period. It's one of those things that sadly doesn't surprise me. It's one of those things that makes me feel angry regardless of how many times it happens. I've been reading the news, actively engaged in news reading, news writing, since I was 11 or 12. And, every time you read the news, you genuinely, or at least on my part, genuinely hope to read something positive and uplifting and something that's helping our world and making it a better place. But unfortunately, that's not always the case, and the majority of things that make the news are negative. And it's sad, it's not anything that you wish upon the world. And I think any person of color can relate, even though you may not be living in the US, even though you may not have been a victim of police brutality specifically. I think everyone of color can relate to the fact that at some point in time, you have been the victim of racial profiling, racism, whether that be overt or covert. And it's sad, regardless of how many good people there are, and obviously I appreciate them and I love them, but I don't think that should be something to overly celebrate. It should be the norm. What shouldn't be the norm are racists, regardless of whatever occupation they come into. You have racist police officers, you have racist doctors, you have racist nurses, you have racist lawyers. Any occupation isn't immune to finding those types of people there. If I could provide some anecdotes, I was 10 years old and my mum's a pharmacy assistant, and she was doing a medication drop-off after work, and I was waiting outside of the patient's place, and I happened to be standing outside of some post boxes. I wasn't near them. I was just casually looking at them, but then I was looking out onto the street. I was looking at the plants. I was looking at a variety of things, just waiting for my mum to be done so that we could all go home. And a police car drives past, and then very quickly they make a U-turn and come back. So they are parked on the side of the street. They open the window and they ask me what I'm doing. So I explained that my mum's doing a medication drop-off, that should be done soon, and I'm just waiting for her because I'm not supposed to be inside because it's a privacy thing. And then the police officer asks me why I'm looking at the letterboxes and what I plan to do. And I innocently say, I was 10 or 11 at the time. I said, nothing. I wasn't planning on doing anything with the letterboxes. I wasn't staring at them intently. I honestly wasn't doing anything. So then they tell me not to do anything, which is interesting. And then they drive away. And then my mum and I, my mum is eventually done and we drive home. And guess who's waiting for me there? The police. The same people went straight to my parents' house, started talking with my dad, and then involved my mum in the conversation too, saying that I was looking suspicious around the letterboxes, and they asked my parents to better monitor my whereabouts. And it was that moment that I felt so angry. I was like, the chances of that happening to someone who's not of color is very, very slim. It was not something suspicious at all. I've seen white people do more suspicious things and nothing has even happened to them. And it was sad more than anything else. It's a very simple adjective, but it was sad. It was a sad moment. It was one of those times where I reminded myself that what I read on the news is true, and that no one in any country of any color is immune, and that this will be following me for the rest of my life. That feeling I will experience every time somebody of a higher authority assumes that you're doing the wrong thing based on the color of your skin. It really is sad. Like, I was overtly racially abused for the first time when I was 17. I was in Weymouth, and it's like a coastal seaside village in England. And I was waiting at a bus stop with my brother, and my brother is very light-skinned. And he had just gone to check the bus stop schedule, and he was 5 meters away from me at max. And this woman starts walking up to me, and she goes, and I thought that she was smiling at me, so I was like, and then I realized she wasn't. She started mumbling these things, and then she eventually told me to F off and to go back to Blackie land, and proceeded to call me an effing N-word. And I was mortified. I froze, and I didn't know what to do, and she looked very angry and aggressive, and at that point I genuinely felt like she was going to hurt me, if her words hadn't hurt me already. And then the bus came, and she had, scrambled to get on the bus first. Once she'd gotten on the bus, my brother got on, and surprisingly she didn't have an issue with that. But when I came on, and the bus was full, mind you, she stuck her hand out across literally the way in which I could have moved to the back of the bus to at least stand or find somewhere to sit, and she had stared me down with the most angry, hateful glaze, and I stood at the front of the bus for the majority of the trip. Actually, for all of the trip, until I had to get off. And when white people came in the same direction, she pulled her hand back and said, "Hi, sweetie, you can go through." And then it was at those moments where I thought I could sort of sneak off with them. And she put her hand immediately back to the place where it was, and she would just stare down at me. And it's many, 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 many instances like that throughout my life where I've just grown so frustrated at the lack of action. The fact that a lot of white people only care when it affects them, when the truth is racism will never affect them. What we're seeing in the US isn't surprising, but it's sad. And I think that we should do better, to be honest. And here, that's not evidently clear enough. It starts with ideas, it starts with the ideology at home, what you're taught. I understand that it's not always easy to break away from whatever your parents or your grandparents taught you to think, but it is needed. Guys, if you see anything that happens that you feel in your heart is inherently wrong, please speak up. And I understand how hard it is, but you need to speak up. This is not the time, nor has it really ever been the time, to keep silent when things are wrong. We have to do better as a society, and posting one picture or posting, an Instagram caption or a Facebook post that's saying, "Black Lives Matter, guys," and then moving on with your life is literally a sign of privilege. Black people have never been able to turn away from the problems that have been plaguing them. They've never been able to say, "Okay, I'm gonna have a pause and I'm gonna go and do my gardening and cook some tikka masala and I'll be back." No. So, I think that in itself, being able to deviate your attention away from issues of racism is so privileged. So please check yourself, check your privilege, speak up when things needed to be spoken up to. Do not be afraid, and know that there's a community of people of color who are really, really needing your support, and they need you to be their ally, not only at this time, but all the time. Don't just come to Black culture and claim the things that seem cool and run away when you are reminded of the injustice that they have suffered. That's not cool. I hope that what I'm saying is like somewhat concise. I have a lot on my mind, and it's just been making me very, very sad. It's always made me sad, it's always made me disappointed, but that sinking feeling in your heart will honestly never really leave you as a person of color. At least that's my opinion. I hope that everyone stays safe. I hope that you continue to fight for what is right. For those who are denouncing the protests happening in the US and the looting, protests have never been right to the people who are protesting. It's inconceivable that you would have an opinion of how people are protesting. People are angry. And it's not just the death of, George Floyd that is making people feel like that. That in itself is such an injustice. Any life lost at the hands of racism and injustice is an injustice. This is a system which has continuously treated people of color in the wrong way and not provided them with justice, and has segregated the types of justice that should be provided to all. And from that, if you understand the history of Black people, you can obviously understand why people would be so angry. Those are my 5.5 cents on the issue. I'm not in a good mind space to be able to fully articulate what I think, but I hope that made some sort of sense. I'll talk to you guys later. Please stay safe, and